Welcome to Entertainment Drive-Thru. Today's special is Asner, actor and voice actor.
Quiet on the set.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage.
Hello, welcome to Entertainment Drive-Thru. I'm Anna, with me is my co-host Dan, and today we have a very special guest. You may know him as Lou Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Lou Grant. You may also know him as the voice in Up, also know him from so many other TV series and from voice acting. Let's welcome, joining us is the one, the only, Ed Asner!
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Hey, hello.
How-
This is America.
Yeah. How's it going?
It's going lovely.
Excellent.
Having a quiet holiday season.
Aw.
I finished a few jobs up, and now I can relax
Nice.
Excellent.
and watch my money go out to all those gifts.
Well, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get started?
Well, by birth. Yes, first I was born, and then when I was in, I always liked a ham bone, and it finally grabbed a hold of me very strongly when I decided to perform a play in college, and it hooked me forever.
Wow. So right away you started performing and just you knew that you were into it.
Yeah. I dropped out of college after about a year and a half, dedicating my life to being an actor.
Nice.
It paid off, as we know.
Totally.
But I, of course, will always have the guilt of not being persistent enough to finish college at the same time.
Right.
So there you have it.
Right.
Well, and now you talked about how you got into wanting to do it, but, was that the exact moment that you realized that, being an actor and, all this other stuff that you do, voice acting, narration, all of that, that's exactly what you wanted to do. It wasn't going to be putting rockets on top of a house and making it go down. You wanted to be an actor.
I wanted to build.
Okay.
And we did. We did. Life
Right.
has been very fortunate. There have been very few setbacks. I married a lovely girl, and we had 3 children.
Aw.
And so far, they haven't been arrested.
That's always positive.
Yeah. But out of those 3 children, I now have 7 grandchildren.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are any
Yeah.
of them into acting?
Well, they have spent trial periods. One daughter and my son both tried acting for a while and found other pursuits that paid off better.
Right.
So the acting experience was good for them. It taught them how to act.
Right.
And then, fortunately, they decided that they couldn't depend on acting to see them through life.
Right.
So my daughter became a family counselor.
Wow.
And my son is Western Development Director for Autism Speaks.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's quite a change from acting.
No, yeah, but he uses his acting chops to
Right.
good effect. And so does my daughter in her family counseling.
Yeah.
Acting is a wonderful preparation for any business or profession in the world.
Right.
Oh,
put in-
absolutely.
Put in 10 years as an actor, learn how to act, learn how to be charming, and you probably will be advanced over your peers in whatever profession you choose.
Right.
Yeah, well, one thing is it definitely builds up confidence and it helps you learn how to talk to people as well as, all the other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I look at people who do stand-up, and they, to me, are the most foolhardy and yet most talented people to be able to face down that fear of the audience in stand-up
Right.
and to develop your act.
Right.
Well, and that's one thing that a lot of people actually say when people are interested in getting into acting. A lot of times they tell them to get into stand-up comedy because, it helps a lot with that, and it helps with development as an actor as well.
Yeah, well, I can assure you of that. It's the air beneath your wings.
Yes. And I wanted to ask you, because you started off as an on-screen actor and you did that for a very long time. Why why did you make the move to going into voice acting and narration and audiobooks as well?
Well, it's all the same to me. I love voice acting as much as I love being on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love investing myself in a character, even though it's only vocal.
Yeah.
And I can embody him. I can react as him, and it's real for me.
Right.
And that's all that counts. When you can make it real for you, any form will play.
Yeah. And one of the things I really enjoy about you as a voice actor is every time I listen to the characters that you play, it doesn't feel like you're just doing the voice. It really feels like you are the character. Like one of the ones I actually really love is in the show Freakazoid, which I bring up partly because that's my favorite cartoon of all time. But I loved your voice as Cosgrove because you really got the character down. And I love the fact that at the end of everything that he says, he'll be giving all this advice and he'll say, well, that's just me,
Yeah. Yeah. He's about as cryptic as you can get them.
Right.
Do you have a favorite character that you've done so far, whether it's on screen or in voice acting?
Well, I can't deny that the 12 years of being Lou Grant
Yeah.
in different sizes and shapes, and that of course was great. I love doing Axel Jordache in Rich Man Poor Man,
Yeah.
and did a movie in Canada, which was around Winnipeg, I think it was, called Heads, with John Cryer and Jennifer Tilly.
Wow.
And it was a delightful black comedy.
Whoa.
I enjoyed that. Another movie I made in Toronto, I think it was, and it was called Family Man, and it had Ann Jackson as my wife, and Meredith Baxter as my potential affair. And that was a lovely movie. It almost had an epiphany with that.
Really?
So those are the things I've enjoyed. I've liked. I enjoyed playing the lawyer in the movie Daniel. I've enjoyed so many different forms of TV, and too numerous to mention here.
Right. And I wanted to ask because, one thing I wanted to talk about was voice acting specifically. And I wanted to ask you, voice acting has really evolved over the decades. When radio was popular and our animation wasn't out yet, it was really all on the radio. And a lot of voice actors have even said that when they got into animation when it first came out, that all of their radio friends were there with them in the auditions or in the actual show. How for you have you seen this evolution in voice acting? And, what are things that were going on before that maybe aren't happening anymore?
Well, I haven't been in voice acting that long necessarily. Captain Planet was my first cartoon voice. And that was a delightful experience, learning how to improvise and create new elements of that character. Hawkish Greedley, where I played the villain. And I certainly do play the villain. And then I got into Spider-Man and was J. Jonah Jameson for a long period of time. Somewhere in there, Gargoyles came into being. And
my favorite.
I sweated out doing a Scottish accent there. And it was It was quite problematical, I tell you.
Oh my!
I wasn't born to be a Scotsman.
Well, actually, because you brought up the accent. I mean, one of the things that you have done is audiobooks. And actually, I was going to ask you about audiobooks. Do you have to do a lot of accents for that?
Yeah. Well, there have been a few that I've done that I've had to, and I love the challenge of needing to try this one or that one. It was a good taskmaster.
Right.
But the majority didn't need accents.
Okay.
Trying to do a woman convincingly is a sweet exercise.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break to listen to a clip from In Your Eyes by Alex Hughes. But we will be right back.
Your eyes, like the heat, I am complete. I see the doorway to 1,000 churches, the resolution of all my fruitless searches. Oh, I feel the light and the heat. Oh, I wanna be that complete. I wanna touch the light, the heat I see in your eyes.
Are there any classes that you've taken for acting or for voice acting or anything that you've done that you really feel helped you in what you do?
I can't say that I did or do.
Okay.
I work with Patrick Fraley, who does a lot of voices
Yeah.
on cartoons, etc., and he teaches voiceover.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And he certainly is a walking Bible in terms of voiceover.
I can
Right.
imagine.
So I picked up, little pick me ups from him, and getting they don't tell you how to do it. They just say, give me some of this in that, or give me some of that in this. And you try to achieve that. The highest compliment I ever got was in the middle of doing the voiceovers for Up.
Yeah.
And about the middle of the sessions, one of the producers was nice enough to come back to me and say, the animators were very happy with the choices I was giving them. And when you're boxed in like that, and you get that compliment from the people who have to put line and drawing to you, then it's a feel-good time.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, that's a really great point that you brought that up because, the thing is that a lot of people think that voice actors just go into the studio and just record for a few hours and they're good to go. But sometimes they'll have to repeat things over and over again because, they have to do it different ways, like the A, B, and C take, or they have, the producers aren't happy. They want it done differently. But when you get it done the first time, it doesn't happen all the time.
Well, I know. It happens all the time, but it's nice when you're cutting the caper.
Right. Exactly. Now for people listening that may be, aspiring actors or voice actors, any form of it, what's some advice that you could give them, maybe tips or tricks that you've learned along the way, maybe things that have worked for you or things that haven't worked, things like that.
Well, free yourself of whatever local accent you constantly sport as your own.
Okay.
You have to be free of being indicted for a regional accent. Most of us automatically speak Mid-American, and we should leave it at that.
Right.
Keep speaking your Mid-American, and the jobs will come your way, and then you can add on the layer of the patinas of foreign language or strongly accented American.
Right.
But I would also say be the person you're portraying. Put aside all else, and you are that man flying through the trees.
Right.
You are that man slipping down the greased chimney. You are that man who's the hero from your pen.
Right. Do you happen to have any tips or tricks that you do to get into a character or discover, exactly how you want to portray the character?
No, I read the character when I get it, and there are always key lines which signify who you are, which have been written to provide that key. It's up to you to discover the key lines. It's up to you to be able to muster up the character to fulfill those key lines as they've been written.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
And I've generally been lucky in achieving that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do with authority, that's for sure.
Nice.
Oh, absolutely. When you go into an audition, do you have anything specific that you have prepared, or you just go in and try to give them exactly what they're looking for?
I haven't auditioned in a long time.
Wow.
So I can't recall what I would do if I were asked. I would look at the character on the page, and I would hum it, and I would then squeak it, and wait to hear what adjustments they want made in the reading.
Right. So now when you go to do a movie, is it more along the lines of you get called or you get contacted and they say they want you specifically, and then you come in and do it?
No, it doesn't even happen that way. My voiceover agent calls and says, you have a voiceover at such and such a time on Wednesday at Salami Studios.
Wow.
So I show up there and I see the character they want me to do, and I try to conjure it up as quickly as possible.
Wow.
I wish life just worked like that in general.
Right.
Just someone calls you up and says, okay, you be here at this time, and you're good to go.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it goes.
It would have been nice from the beginning.
Now that doesn't. I have an interesting story in that light.
Okay.
For Up, my agent submitted my voice along with probably the hundreds of other clients he represents. And the two producers, P. Docker and Bob Peterson, and I began working on the show. And somewhere in there, they revealed, Bob or Pete did, that I had done a reading of a one-man show about a Holocaust survivor
Right.
for the United Jewish Appeal in Northern California.
Okay.
Totally opposite from the character I ended up being in Up.
Yeah.
So they came there and they saw me do this one-man reading, and they said that clinched it.
Wow.
What about that reading clinched it, I don't know, but it was quite wonderful to hear about how that circle was closed.
Yeah. So they just heard you do that one-man show, and they just decided from there, like, you had to be the character.
Well, undoubtedly, they liked me already.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think they would have taken the trip to hear this one-man reading.
Right.
But I guess the reading was effective enough. I didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
And it put me over the top. Now, at the same time, as brilliant as we all think we are in whatever we do, be it write, direct, voiceover, I don't think anybody thought that Up would achieve the singular success that it did.
Right.
It's amazing. Just in the few minutes they have you. It's amazing.
Yeah, they really capture you right away.
Well, they're smart people. They're smart people, and I respect them enormously because I think Pete Docter particularly, because he rendered a gem.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got a new one coming out, which I think they have high hopes for, and of course stars a young girl.
Wow.
So the females are going to get their chance.
Nice.
Oh, absolutely. And it's good to see. And I wanted to ask you, so far with your whole career, what has been one of the biggest challenges for you, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest challenge? Well, accents are always a challenge.
Yeah.
The most glaring was one of my first jobs in California was Untouchables. I was supposed to be a member of the Gypsy Clan. I said, Gypsy? Well, what is a Gypsy? What is their accent like?
Right.
So I said, well, they're Hungarian, Romanian, whatever. I said, okay, so I'll work on my Hungarian accent. I did that, and Hungarian is quite similar to German in many respects. So I did that as the Gypsy, and there were other members of the family. Bruce Coleman was an older brother in the family, and I heard him, and he was doing a traditional Middle European accent.
Okay.
And I thought, that was good. That's good. So I kept on with mine. And the second day, the director comes up and he says, Ed, about that accent. I said, yeah. You can drop it. And I said, oh my God, I can't drop it. I gotta have an accent. I'm a gypsy. So I modified it enough and dropped it enough so that I was acceptable, I guess.
Right.
And not until quite later did I realize that how stupid it was of me to go to the book and try to capture a Hungarian accent, because if I had just run Zsa Zsa Gabor through my mind and imitated her, I would have achieved my gypsy.
Right. So that you really spent all that time working on this accent, and then did they end up having you do it because like you showed them that it was going to be good, or they weren't sure if they even wanted you to have it?
They never questioned it again, but it was a lot of soul searching and gut searching to finally come up with my second day's accent, I'll tell you.
Right. Well, I've always been really curious about that because I've seen a lot of movies where, it seems like people play these characters from various parts of the world, and they're not really speaking the accent of where they're from. They're just doing straight up American accent. And I've always wondered if that's because they couldn't do it, or because the producers or the writers or whoever decided that they just didn't want it.
Well, of course, once you start doing it, it's not easy to stop.
Right.
I would say that it's lowering of taste and respect for the industry that has resulted in this lack of accent, lack of identification.
Yeah.
I think that young people just don't. I have a friend who's working on a series, a movie with an old friend of ours who's directing it. And, he said there are about 6 young people on the show, and their whole deportment, their whole demeanor is one of slackness. They show up late. They don't know their lines.
No.
And when you have that type of carelessness and lack of respect, if it's accepted, then the industry in general will be disgraced.
Right.
And its standards will continually sink into the toilet.
Right.
Yeah.
So harsh taskmasters are what's required.
Oh, absolutely. Well, speaking of things that are challenging, we actually have a new challenge for you today. Because we are...
No, I won't do it. I won't. No. You can't make me.
Well, we are up to our segment, the question of the month.
Question of the month, huh?
Yeah. So
well, who will live and who will die?
Right. Well, in this segment, we'll ask our interviewees a new question every month, and they have to think of the funniest answer that they can come up with.
Yeah.
To our listeners, Write in your questions on our Facebook at facebook.com/Entertainment Drive-Thru and our Twitter at eDrive-Thru, and we just might use them as the question of the month. Now, Ed, are you ready?
I'm listening.
All right. So question is, what are 2 cartoon characters that you think would be funny if they met?
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Hard question, right?
Right off the head, I would say Cosgrove.
Nice.
Meeting the 2 young black kids on Boondocks.
Oh my goodness, that would be wild.
And have that colloquy take place between them, watching Cosgrove's puzzlement and watching the black kid's puzzlement
Right?
at his lack of life.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what makes the character is that he's just like it's like the lack of personality, but then you've got the Boondocks where it's not really like that.
And secondarily, having my character on Boondocks, Ed Wonsler, meet meet Freakazoid.
Nice.
Oh, those are good ones. I like that.
Cross between Boondocks and Freakazoid.
All right. Well, getting back to the interview, but I love that question. I have to ask. It's a lot of fun. Now I wanted to ask because, we've kind of talked about some advice that you would give to people just getting started. But, what is some of the best advice that you've received along the way?
Well, just yesterday, I heard a simple formula that I think means everything. But based on 3 dictates. Why am I here? Who am I?
Right?
And what am I supposed to do?
Right?
That's a really good point. I really like that because, that really sums up everything that you really need to think about in this line of work is, first of all, why are you doing it is very important because I don't think a lot of people really know why they're doing it.
Right?
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are kind of skewed in it. I feel like especially now that it's really opening up to the level of ability to even get into this line of work. There's so many people doing it today. There's so many people able to do it.
So
and I think a lot of people are just seeing it as a way to quickly make money, but it's really not that.
Right?
No. Showbiz is one of the stupidest ways to go through life to make money.
That's so true.
Well, because it really takes, it takes a long time to get to that point where you're making money to begin with.
Right?
I was amazed that I didn't have to take outside work to support, firstly, myself, and then my wife, and then the kids.
Right.
Life was good.
Yeah.
But that's a rarity. That's an exception.
Right?
And if you wish to go into showbiz, you can only go in for one reason, and that's for the love of performing.
Oh, exactly. Well, and that's something that we talk about on the show that I really like saying because it's a good point is that, if you go into this business because you can't imagine yourself doing anything else, then you're going to give everything you've got into it and you're going to be trying so hard to do it because you can't do anything else.
Right.
But if that's not you, if you're doing it, just because of the quick buck or, not the quick buck, but if that's your reason, or you're doing it to be famous, or you're doing it but it's not really what you want to do, you're not going to be trying as hard because you're not all there.
So true.
And believe me, all those years there's going to be a lot of very dull crap.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
That you find yourself participating in.
Happens.
And you can celebrate that fact that you're getting paid for it, as dull and uninteresting as it may be.
Right.
Yeah.
You wait for that particular day when the plumb line comes down in a character, or character comes down in a line.
Right.
You wait for that day.
Right.
Well, and I mean, that's another good point is, I mean, the thing is that a lot of people today seem to think that with the entertainment industry, because there's a lot of new names just randomly appearing, everyone thinks that they just got started and out of nowhere they became famous right away. But there's a lot of hard work and years that go into this, no matter what you're doing in this business, whether you're an actor, a comedian, or you're a musician, any of that, you're going to have about, 5 to 10 years minimum that you're going to be doing a lot of unknown stuff before you even get to anything big.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, well, thank God, I won't go broke trying to buy back the shows that I failed in.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky that most of them passed muster.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be those shows that you look ridiculous in.
Right. Well, and sometimes, sometimes you got to do stuff to build up your reputation and to build up your resume so that you can do the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I wanted to ask about some resources here for a minute. Are there any, either internet sites or books that you've read that you think anyone that's interested in acting or voice acting or anything in this business, they should at least know about these?
I don't know of any. As I mentioned earlier that Pat Fraley,
Right.
who's based in Los Angeles, is a very good interpreter of the material and knows where you can go for the comedy in it.
Right.
But I don't know people other than that.
Okay.
Right.
Are there any maybe, like TV shows or movies or anything that, really inspired you as an actor?
All good TV, all good movies did it for me.
Okay.
It can be a rotten movie, but one good actor in it will make it so worthwhile to watch
Right.
for style and rug cutting that particular actor does.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's one thing that I've noticed because one of the actors that I'm actually a huge fan of, who unfortunately is not around anymore, is Danny Kaye.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
one thing I loved about Danny Kaye was the fact that no matter what movie he was put in, it was always his character that it was almost like he stole the show. He made the movie what it was. And, it was no matter what you thought of the movie, his acting was phenomenal and I ended up really gravitating toward that.
He was somewhat of an early day Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And the secret to his performing qualities, first of all, he was certainly musically talented,
Oh, yeah.
is that he had all this nervous energy.
Yeah.
True.
And he pushed it into his character, probably when it wasn't required. But you were forced to watch him because he was a jumping jack.
Right.
And that's yet another little lesson. Always seem alive.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
I did Rod Serling's, one of his last pieces that he wrote, was turned into a 90-minute movie called Doomsday Flight.
Okay.
Oh.
A bomb had been placed by the mad bomber, Edmund O'Brien, who was spectacular in this movie. And there was an aneroid bomb. So that it would not, it was primed to detonate only after you came down below 5,000 feet.
Right.
So the whole of the film, you're busy finally trying to find out what kind of bomb it is. Then once they find that out, trying to find out where they can land the plane that's above 5,000 feet, which they find out. And all of my scenes, I was the airport manager, and all of my scenes were in my office with the head of the FBI that was played by Jack Lord. So very early on, I was saying, oh man, I just cutting a rug with this character. I'm really really selling it great. Just wonderful. Oh, am I hot? Oh, am I hot? Oh, am I
Right.
cool? Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. Then I saw the damn thing, and I realized I stunk.
Really?
Because every scene I had in that office was like the other scene. They were all like a section of grapes, all identical in a row. I learned a lesson there that I didn't apply often enough, but it stuck. To force variation even when it's not called for.
Right. Well, and that's a good point because, I mean, sometimes people will portray characters and they'll get, like 45 minutes into it and not realize they played every single scene the exact same way.
Right.
They didn't really, put any variety or, anything into it more than what they already did.
And that was best proved to me when Sean Penn's father, Leo Penn, and he was directing a wonderful actor, and it turned out I think he was a wonderful director.
Yeah.
And I was playing a Capitol reporter, and I was going to be jailed because I was keeping back privileged information. So I had two scenes, among other scenes, but two scenes in which I was drunk. I did one scene, and we did it right. It went well.
Right.
Started to do the second scene, and I started playing it the same drunk again.
Right.
He said, no. You got to find another thing to attach to. You did it already. You did it already. Let's find a different way to play this scene. So I probably lessened the drunkenness and concentrated more on the anger that I felt. And we did it, and it worked.
Right. Without
his direction, I made the same mistake I did on Doomsday Flight.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we are actually getting down to the end of the interview. But
No.
I know. But
You can't do that to me.
But before we go, where are places that our listeners can find out more information about you and all the work that you've done?
Oh, well, IMDb, of course, is a good starting place. My office is Quince Productions. Direct your questions to quinceproductions@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Ed, for being on the show. It's really been an absolute honor talking to you.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
I feel comfortable with you.
Aw,
Thank you. Thank you. And for more information on Ed Asner and the podcast, go to entertainmentdrivethru.com and subscribe on iTunes. Like and follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/entertainmentdrivethru and our Twitter and Instagram @edrivethru.
This is Ed Asner, and you've been listening to Entertainment Drive-Thru.